everybody, I'm Ross the Boss coming live from La La, California, and I'm joined with the best sidekick in the business, Casey. Flat to the bone, shine full, say hello to everybody. Casey.
Hey, everybody. I might have to come up with a different nickname for football season. Vlad to the
No,
bone.
I'm calling you Vlad for the rest of the game. The rest of the show,
fine.
You're Vlad. I'm not even calling you Casey anymore.
I'll go for it. I'll take it.
So let's talk the biggest story. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, those 4 plays he played for Green Bay, for the New York Jets was fantastic. And then he went down and he's out for the season. It's dreadful for the New York Jet fans. I feel for you. Trust me. The only good news is they have a backup that is capable of winning games. Well, he did it last night.
You know, it was funny. I was watching the game and the announcers are slamming Zach Wilson, it felt like, and they're praising Josh Allen, but Josh Allen looked awful.
4 picks?
Whatever it was, but they're like talking about how he's a stud and he's so like the
prototype
of what you want to build a team around. And I'm watching and I'm going, yeah, he looks pretty bad.
Let me tell you something about Josh Allen. You know, Lamar Jackson was throwing footballs with Odell Beckham during the offseason. And Josh Allen was in the jacuzzi with Haley Steinfeld, the actress, and he was playing Hollywood. I don't think he threw the football once during the offseason. I mean, this guy was making his rounds to all the Hollywood parties. He was boozing it up. He was having a great time with the actress. I mean, it shows. I mean, it really did. I mean, the interceptions, and even like Diggs was saying during the game, he's like, "Come on, dude, you got to do this." And didn't he throw 3 interceptions to the same guy? I mean, it was
ugly.
Number 3 had 3 interceptions for the New York Jets. So
now the Jets are an elite defense, so that's
they say that, and I don't believe it. I mean, elite defense. 2 years ago they couldn't stop anybody. Now they're elite defense. Come on, wake up! They're not that elite defense. Let's see what happens this week coming up with the New York Jets. Okay. And we'll talk about that. But do you think Aaron Rodgers, do you think the Jets will go out and get a quarterback? Do you think they'll trade and try to get, like, let's say a team like the Rams, who are I know they won the first week, but they're not going anywhere. Do you think
they were trying to? The rumor was they tried to get Stafford before they got Rodgers. So
yeah, I mean,
but I don't think so. I think
you don't think they will. Maybe Marcus Gill, some of these backup quarterbacks that are really good.
But you're the one who's always said, like, trying to get a quarterback in the middle of the season and then having them learn the playbook and develop chemistry in season is impossible. Maybe they go down to Miami and try to get Mike White back.
How about your guy that plays for the Giants, Tyree Taylor, who's a mobile quarterback?
There you go.
They need a guy that can move around. The Jets line's horrible. I mean, they're mediocre at that. Okay, mediocre.
Jacoby Brissett from Washington.
Yep. I mean, maybe a mobile quarterback, because they can't. If Tom Brady, I mean, they're saying Tom Brady. If Tom Brady came to the Jets, he'll be 6 feet under within 2 weeks. I mean, there's no way he'll be able to. I mean, if you think Matt Ryan is slow, I mean, Tom Brady is just as slow. I mean, he can't. There's no way he can compete. Oh, we got Chris Atwater's here. Chris Atwater, let's talk about your Saints.
And the Saints are elite
defense. Yeah, you know what? I don't think there's one elite defense in the league. I mean, if you ask me, the Jets are trying to compare themselves to the 85 Bears. Are you insane? I mean, they're not comparing anything. You haven't won anything. But you know what? I feel bad for Jet fans. I thought it was a good game overall. Let's talk waiver wire. Let's get that out of the way. Then we'll talk about the games coming up and what players we're kind of looking forward to, Casey. You had 48 hours to think about some waiver wire pickups. I have some pickups. You have pickups. I'm gonna have you go first, because that's what I do. You want to
go position by position, or
no? Just give me. We don't have to go position, but we can just do just give me your top 5, top 10 waiver wire pickups. Well, I don't want to go waiver, but position is too long. Just if you had to get one waiver guy off the waiver wire right now, and you had the first pick, you could get anybody on the waiver wire, and we usually say under 60% on Yahoo. That's what we're going with, right, Case?
Yes.
Under 60%. So who is your top number one to quote Sinatra waiver wire pickup? Who is it? Go.
Well, I think it's got to be. I mean, I'll call him Puka Nakua for the Rams, because with Cooper out for 4 weeks at least,
Yeah, he's hurt.
He got 15 targets. Like, he stepped into Cooper's role and got Cooper's volume and target share. If you're going to catch 10 balls, be the target 15 times, like, that is number one wide receiver numbers, right? And so I think he's got to be the number one. Ross, who was the number 2 fantasy quarterback this week?
Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers.
No, I'm doing this one for Chris Atwater. Does that go away? No, Mac Jones. He's a diehard Bama fan. Mac Jones has a real offensive coordinator now in Bill O'Brien up there in the Patriots. And all he did was throw for 315 yards and 3 tutties against the Eagles.
They were down 16. They were down 16 zip in that game. I watched it. I watched every game because I've read them.
I'm a Daniel Jones owner. If I ask you, who would you rather have, Daniel Jones or Mac Jones right now? Who are you going to say? Right?
I'd rather have Jerry Jones of the Cowboys. That's what I'd rather have.
There you go. So,
but yes, I mean, Mac Jones had a great game, and I saw the after, the play at the end when the player was out of bounds. I felt kind of bad for that kid, but they came back. They were down 16-0, and the Eagles just laid on their back and did nothing for the whole second half.
Running backs, I think I prefer Justice Hill, but I think you got to either go for Hill or Gus Edwards.
So Gus Edwards is on my list. He's going to get most of the carries. I think he'll be the.
I think
even though Justice Hill had 2 touchdowns. Listen, I like Justice Hill too. Trust me, but I just think how the Baltimore team works. I think Gus will get a majority of the handoffs. It doesn't mean Justice Hill won't get the ball when it's at the end zone. You know what I mean? So I think either one's a good pickup right now. Do you think they'll sign maybe Hunt or one of these guys that are free agents that could be available?
Well, they also just activated Melvin Gordon off the practice squad. And is Melvin Gordon that much worse than Leonard Fournette or Kareem Hunt? And so I don't know. They say they're going to stay in-house, but who knows? All right, we got a trade question for
Go ahead, read it, Case.
Chef Inabi asks, trade Fields, CeeDee Lamb, and Jonathan Taylor for Jalen Hurts, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Brian Robinson. Yes, I want Hurts, Amon-Ra, and Brian Robinson. I think that is an incredibly one-sided trade.
Brian Robinson, I think, had 19 rushes last week. He's getting most of the ball. Gibson's not doing anything.
Hurts is better. You'd rather have Hurts than Fields.
Hurts had a horrible game last week, so don't go by last week, please. I know. I'm just saying, people are all like, I know about Joe Burrow too. I mean, he had 80 yards passing. I could have done that
this week. I have a lot of him. And Amon-Ra and CeeDee Lamb, there is a wash, I think. Although, the way Dak looked, I'd probably go with Amon-Ra as the better one. And then Brian Robinson, and Taylor's out for at least 4 weeks, and who knows what's going on with him after that.
Supposedly, I read, Casey, somewhere that he's going to come back with Indianapolis. That's the rumor. It's not. I don't know if it's true. We got another one. Judy, who hasn't played a second yet because he's hurt. For Waller, straight up PPR. My wide receivers are Diggs, Wilson, whose stock went down, Debo, who I'm not a big fan with because Brandon Ayuk is getting a lot of the targets.
Yeah, my best call, by the way, right there.
Yep, Arizona State, and Christian Watson, Judy, and only have Higbee at tight end. So you'd be
getting rid of Judy from your wide receivers and adding Waller. Well, look, Waller's when healthy. The problem is you got to plan on him missing 7 or 8 games. Like, you just kind of do. It's what happens with him. He's going to be a volume monster. I agree with Ross. I'm a little worried about Debo and I mean, the catch by Garrett Wilson, by the way, his touchdown catch last night where he tipped it to himself around the defender was one of the best catches I've seen in a while. I would probably pull the trigger on that one because Judy could be out for a while. So it's injury for injury and you're getting a tight end. But that's a bit of a coin toss for me.
Yeah, it's a coin toss. I would spin the wheel and probably get Waller. I mean, you have Higbee. Higbee's not going to win you the league. Waller can actually win you the league if he plays up to potential and doesn't get hurt. I mean, the guy's a monster when he gets the ball. He can run and he's fast and he can score touchdowns. So I rather have Waller than Judy right now. I'm worried about Judy's health and we're worried about Russell Wilson. He did not look that great. They lost to the Raiders at home, which is unbelievable. I mean, which is like I for sure thought the Raiders were not going to win that game, but Wilson does not look better than last year. He looks the same. You know what impressed me, Case, is the Dallas Cowboys beating your Giants. That was embarrassing.
That was. I turned it off at halftime. The good news is I still got a good night's sleep.
You got a good night's sleep, and you look good, and no circles underneath your eyes. You look terrific. We're getting to Rashid. I like Shaheed a lot. We'll get there. We'll get there. He's on my list. Trust me. But yes, Shaheed is a deep threat.
He's one of our sleepers this year.
He's like a deep threat guy. He can score anytime. I love the guy. I love him. I think he's exciting, and I love his name. I'm naming my firstborn Rashid. I already have 2 kids. So
I was just saying.
Yeah, I can't do that. But if I ever have a 3rd kid, his name is Rashid, middle name Shaheed. I'm doing that. So Jake Ferguson, we talked about rookie tight ends and how you and I hate them, but the Dallas Cowboys.
Jake Ferguson.
Oh, he's second year. So he had 7 targets, Casey. And
I know.
And he got involved in that offense. He's only like 7% owned. And tight end, but he says, I can't find a tight end that's going to score me points. This Jake Ferguson, who's a second-year guy, I think is going to have a great chance of having a good year. So that's a guy that you should target maybe and pick him up in waiver wire because I don't think everybody's going to do that. So he's a good little sneaky guy you can pick up. Casey, who else do you like in waiver wire?
Well, I'm going to say him only because I know it's going to get a reaction out of you. Brock Montana. I mean, you've hated on him all preseason, and all he did was go out and produce. I mean, the guy's maybe he just has that something. It doesn't look like much, but at the end of the day, it always works out well for him.
Okay, I'll name. Who do you like better, Brock Montana? Yeah. I'm really saying Brock Purdy, just so you guys know, or Jordan Love of Green Bay, who scored a lot of points against the horrible Bears defense. But who rather you have right now? Who rather you pick up?
I'd rather have Brock Montana.
You rather Brock? Interesting. You know, I can't argue with you. I think Brock Montana, he has that great system. Ayuk's
right. For me, it's as much about the system and the talent around you.
And no Kittle either, which I think did Kittle play? I can't remember.
Yes, he did.
Oh, he did. He didn't do much compared to Ayuk. But Brock Montana was good. And Jordan Love, I love too. I love Jordan Love. I mean, I thought the Green Bay looked great. It didn't have their number 1 receiver. Didn't matter.
Romeo Dobbs has good chemistry with
Dobbs.
He's available. I'd pick him up.
Yeah, he's on my list. Casey, Rashawn Johnson, I know Uncle Ted has been talking about him for the Chicago Bears. This guy is a target machine when it comes to receptions. He's a running back.
Yeah.
But he got 7 targets. He had 17 fantasy points last week, Casey Scheinfeld. And he's only owned in 20% of the leagues right now. And he was in for 39% of the snaps for the Bears last week.
Yeah, he was great. And that's what when people were talking about Deontay Foreman, you and I said on here, we're like, I think Rashawn Johnson's got the inside track for that Khalil Herbert backup role. And he's actually turning into more than just a backup. If he plays like this in a couple more weeks, it's going to be a committee. He's going to start overtaking Shaheed for that number 1 spot. I mean, not Shaheed. Khalil Herbert. Yeah. For the number 1.
Okay, Case. Waiver wire, first week. Who else are you trying to pick up? Don't lie. I'll find out. You don't hide anything from me.
Well, I mean, look, you got to look at, if you're looking at running back, somebody who I talked about in the preseason because I didn't think he was going to go away after he had a great rookie season, despite the way the draft went, was Tyler Algier for Atlanta. Bijan Robinson went there, but Algier still got 15 carries and 2 touchdowns. I mean, and that's not just because of game script. That's because they like him as a running back. So he's going to be there and get you volume. I think he's not a handcuff. He's a viable fantasy option there.
Listen, he's 82%. He was in for 82% of the rushing plays he was in for. He played 56% of the game. So everybody's yelling and screaming about Bijan Mustard Man. Bijan Mustard Man he had a good game, but I still think Algiers is their man. I really do. And they're not going to rush this rookie. They're not going to put him. They're going to give him 20, 25, 20 carries a game. They're not going to do that. There's no way.
Right.
There's no need to. Algiers looked good. They Atlanta won. I mean, and they didn't. First half they did not play well. Second half they picked it up. But I agree with you. I think Algiers is a good pickup right now. I like this. I like this guy. I liked him last year. And last year he was a rookie, and I think he went to Utah, right? And or BYU, one of those
Yep.
Utah schools. But I think that's a great pickup.
What are your thoughts on Jacoby Myers in Las Vegas?
See, every time we count like Vegas out, and you just got to remember where the quarterback is. Gene Garofalo is a winner. I mean, every time this guy steps on the field, his winning percentage is like astronomical. I think I looked it up last year. It was like in the 70s, like over 70% of the time this guy plays, he wins. So I never count this guy out. Jacoby Myers is their second best receiver, right?
Right, and Devontae Adams is going to draw all the coverage. So
yeah, so I don't think it's a bad pickup. I mean, people are ruling Vegas out.
9 or 10 targets last year.
I mean, Vegas has they have a great running back in Joe Jacobs. He went to Alabama.
Josh Jacobs, yeah.
We know he went to Alabama. We know that. But I think Vegas is a team that's dangerous. They do play Buffalo this week in Buffalo, and Buffalo is angry. So guess who I'm taking in my survivor pool, Casey Scheinfeld?
You're taking Buffalo,
the
huh?
Buffalo Bills. I'll tell you that. Don't tell Dr. Dan Ratner on Thursday what I'm doing. I want that guy to, let him take the Browns or something stupid. Don't worry. But you know who else looked good? And I did not see this coming, Casey Scheinfeld. I did not see this at all. And I don't know if it's a trap. I don't know what's going on. But I loved Kenneth Gainwell of Philadelphia, Casey.
Rashad Penny was a healthy scratch.
A healthy scratch. This guy got 62% of the stats. Yeah. Swift did nothing. The guy they signed for huge money. And he's easily right now, I would say, like a running back too. I mean, he's that good. I mean, I don't know what to tell you about Kenneth Gainwell except to pick him up. Because
it's not a bad. I mean, Swift barely played. All right, we got some comments I want you to respond to. Christopher Atwater, Kyle Pitts and Drake London owners must be sick. Desmond Ridder can't feed these guys. Did you see Ritter's passing line at the end of the first quarter?
No, I didn't see it. Tell me, please.
3 for 3 for negative 11 yards.
That's a great stat.
Like, that's insane.
That's a great stat.
I think you're right.
11, so that means he did a bunch of screenplays that went nowhere.
Well, I think he had a pass blocked and he caught it himself in the backfield.
The rule of quarterback, if you throw a pass and you can catch it, you drop it on purpose.
Knock it down.
Or just drop it on purpose.
But Chris, I think you're right. At this point, you can't trust Ridder. So, all right.
Okay, let me go back to Ridder, though. Ridder just needs some games to get more comfortable. He'll be good. He went to the great college of University of Cincinnati. He'll be a good NFL player. Just give him a little time. Atlanta won. That's all that matters. So, and I still like Kyle Pitts this year. Don't drop him. Don't do anything stupid. If you do, I'll pick him up.
Ross's league, so he can pick him up.
I'll pick him up. I like Kyle Pitts. Go ahead.
A&J Films. Would you trade Justin Fields for Kittle, Dalvin Cook, and Derek Carr?
So I don't know who else is on your team, but yes, you get Kittle, you get one of the top 3 tight ends. Dalvin Cook, who I think is going to have a big year this year. He looked really good last night. And Derek Carr, I mean, I think he'll have more passing yards than Fields, obviously. Fields
will have the rushing advantage.
But Fields will beat him in rushing. But the Bears' defense is just so bad. And they play Tampa Bay this weekend. And I think Tampa Bay is just going to slaughter them. I mean, I think Mayfield's going to have a huge game, over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Mayfield's another guy I was thinking maybe he'll go to the New York Jets. Maybe he'll be traded there because they weren't too sold on him in Tampa Bay. There was they put him through the ringer during spring, during spring and also during preseason until they announced the winner of who won the job. So maybe Mayfield goes to the Jets. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. But yeah, I would actually, I don't know who else is on your team, but I like that deal for some reason. Something tells me that Carr's going to have a really good year. He looked really good. I thought he looked pretty good the first game. And I just think Fields is one hit away from being out for the season. So that's me.
Do I try to sell high on Jacoby Myers? Ice Tray Gaming.
Good luck. If somebody's dumb enough to think the first game matters that much, yes, I would sell. I would get rid of Jacoby Myers if you get the right deal.
What would you try to get for him though?
I
What
don't know.
would selling high look like? That's the
Go
question.
to T Higgins owners. See what they want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, he had no receptions, 0
Wow.
points. I mean, you get these morons that really believe like the first game it will tell you the whole season, which it won't. But I would try to. I would trade him around and see if there's any interest, especially Raider fans. They're so dumb. But yes, ice trade gaming. I think right now is that if you want to get anything, Jacoby Meyer sounds like a law firm, doesn't it? Jacoby Meyer.
It is a law firm. Look,
I think it is.
It actually is. And then Christopher Atwater got more suits than Jacoby and Myers.
I see the commercials. It's of course okay, but yes, trade Jacoby Meyer immediately if you can get something better for him. Obviously, Richard Silver. That's a great question. So, does Kittle finish as a top 3 tight end or above? It just depends on his health. I think he can.
Healthy, he is the third. He is a top 3 tight end.
I mean, he is definitely the top tight end overall with blocking and catching, and what he does on the field. He's for me, he's better than he's better than the guy from Kansas City. So Travis Kelce. So I rather have
not
Kittle
from a fantasy perspective.
On a fan perspective, I think he'll finish maybe 3 if he plays all year.
Yeah, I agree. And so here's just to Atwater. I know you were quoting the Beastie Boys, but I just used it because it was a tie-in. That's a Beastie Boys line. Got more suits than Jacoby.
I'm very familiar with the Beastie Boys.
All right. Untamed music. Which side would you rather have in half-point PPR? Najee Harris and Christian Watson, or Deebo Samuel and Kenneth Gainwell?
Half PPR. So Najee and Jalen Warren, like we said from the beginning of the season, what did I say, Casey?
You think Najee's going to lose that job?
Well, first game of the season, they split handoffs. So what does that tell you with Jalen Warren? Him and Jalen Warren split the ball. So already game 1, Najee Harris is fading away. So I would get rid of Najee Harris so quick and make your head spin. Christian Watson, I do like. I don't have a big upside on Deebo this year. And Gainwell, as I said, it's one of my pickups in fantasy. I think he's a running back too, for sure. And I think he'll just get better and better, more plays he plays.
So which one would you rather have?
I'd rather have Deebo and Gainwell right now.
I think
have no
so
faith
too.
in that Najee Harris. I have no faith at all. I would dump him so quick. It's close, I guess. But again, I rather
because
have
I don't
Gainwell.
like Deebo. I mean, Watson, if he comes back, obviously when he comes back, I like him better than Deebo. Because as you said, and as there's not enough ball to go around in San Francisco, and Ayuk is awesome, Kittle's awesome, McCaffrey's awesome. I think Deebo could quickly become the 4th option. So that.
Okay, so what do you think about Tutu? I love the name Tutu. Tutu Atwell from the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
He had a big game last week. My guy Van Jefferson, who having a bunch of leagues, did nothing. So I'm waving him. I'm actually waving Van Jefferson this week. I'm announcing to the world. Van Jefferson was not in the playbook at all. Barely didn't get any target. I think he got 2 targets. Doesn't matter.
He dropped one big.
I saw that. But Tutu Atwell, pick up or let lay in the waiver wire system.
I guess it depends who you have on your bench. I'm not picking up Tutu because I think Puka is the better choice of the wide receivers there. I think he's the one who got 15, twice as many targets, 15-8, same amount of yards, but Puka got 4 more receptions. So Tutu turned into you got Puka and Tutu. I mean, like,
and let's keep the Ram theme.
Yep. Kyren Williams.
Kyren Williams, he was out there for 65% of the snaps he was out there for, Casey Scheinfeld.
Well,
and that's really good.
Cam Akers had 22 carries.
For how many yards? 10?
29. So he averaged a yard a carry, essentially.
I believe you put me in a football uniform right now. I bet if I got that many carries, I can have just as many yards or more. Just dive left, give me the biggest guard and tackle you got, and we'll go right behind them and I'll get more yards. Trust me. So
I like Kyren Williams. I mean, they made him a part of the game plan. It wasn't.
They did.
They didn't build him in because Cam was struggling. It was obviously designed that way. So given how inefficient Cam was, I would probably pick up Kyren, certainly if I'm a Cam Akers owner, but also if I'm a Dobbins owner where there was struggling there, there's going to be injuries throughout. So I would pick him up.
Yeah, and some more injuries. Greg, what's his name? Greg Dulcich, the tight end for
Dulcich.
Dulcich, the tight end
Yeah.
for Denver. He's out for a few weeks. Another big name that's out is Deontay Johnson of
Yeah, I
Pittsburgh.
saw Deontay Johnson's out
He's
for a
out
few
for a
weeks.
few weeks. Who people were considering a sleeper just because he didn't score a touchdown last year, but got a lot of volume. So there have been injuries. So make sure before you go to bed tonight, make sure you find out what's going on with some of your players. Which rookie shined? It's a question from Christopher Atwater. Which rookie shined in your opinion? Case, which I mean, the number one draft pick out of Carolina, I thought he played okay. I thought C.J. Stroud was okay.
Yeah.
They both lost. So there wasn't. But they played. There were times when they looked really good, and times they looked like rookies.
Well, I mean, obviously, as we've said over and over again today, Puka Nacua was the best rookie this week. Who shined the most as a rookie
Yeah,
was.
I mean, he shined the most.
Other ones.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Rashee Rice established himself in Kansas City as going to probably be a preferred target over both Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney pretty quickly.
I mean, let's talk about Kadarius Toney. I mean,
yeah,
could he catch anything? I mean, his hands are made out of stone. I mean, I never seen a guy drop so many passes in my life. I mean, and he plays professional football. I mean, how did that happen?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't do that for the Giants case when he was on your team. I don't know what happened to him, but for some reason he can't catch passes from Mahomes. I don't know what happened. And Rice missed, and Sky Moore looked horrible too.
He was somebody
I liked.
I think Zay Flowers had, he was probably the bright spot for the Ravens there in their wide receiver. I think he had 7 more targets than any other wide receiver.
Zay Flowers. I told people, I said, I love Zay Flowers. I love what he's doing in training camp. I love what he's doing in preseason. And he was unbelievable at Boston College. He just didn't get to play against the competition that he should have. But Zay Flowers, to me, is going to be he's going to have a run for that Rookie of the Year. I mean, that's how much I think of this guy. I love Zay Flowers, and bravo to everybody who drafted him. Good job.
And I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs was only out there for 19 snaps, or 20 snaps, whatever it was. But every time he touched the ball, it was electric. And so I think he showed you what that kind of capability is. I mean, averaged 5 yards a carry, ran over people. Chris Atwater wants to point out that other than the sacks, he thought Anthony Richardson looked solid. Indianapolis is a dumpster fire. That's the issue.
I mean, I thought Richardson is somebody that did not play many games in college. His inexperience kind of showed during the game. He didn't have enough rushing yards I thought he would have over 50 rushing yards. He didn't. I think for them to win, he needs to have 80, 90 rushing yards a game. I mean, he can't just be going back there throwing the ball. He has to go out, and if he sees a spot to run to get 10 yards, go for it. Because he was knocking down linebackers. This guy's a beast. I mean, this guy is just a monster. And I would not want to be in the receiving party tackling that guy. But I like him. I just think he needs a lot more games under his belt till we can consider him like a real fantasy weapon. Right now, I have no faith in him right now.
Yeah, and I don't think, I mean, C.J. Stroud didn't throw an interception, but he didn't throw a touchdown pass either. Bryce Young threw a touchdown, but threw 2 interceptions. So of the 3 quarterbacks, I think it's safe to say Richardson might have had the best day of the 3 of them. Bijan Robinson wasn't great. What was it? 52 yards on 10 carries. So he's averaging 5 yards a carry, caught some balls, scored a touchdown, I think, in the air. So, I mean, some of the rookies did what they were supposed to, but Jordan Addison caught a touchdown too. So I guess you got to throw him on the list.
I like what I saw from Jordan Addison too. He had, I believe, 7-8 targets. I think he'll just get better and better. They do have a tough game coming up though. Let's go over the games for next week really quick. Casey, why don't you pull them up for me if you don't mind?
All right. I'll give them to you and you can tell me what you think. Here we go.
Let's start with Thursday night.
All right. NFL Thursday nights.
The Yankees won 3-2. They just won the game. I just watched it.
All right. Well, that's
congratulations.
Of nothing. Minnesota at Philadelphia Thursday night.
So that game, fantasy wise, I love Kirk Cousins. I love Addison. I love Justin Jefferson. I think all three of them have pretty good games. I'm worried about the running game in Minnesota. I don't know if I would start.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the running game there. That's it. And in the Eagles side, their offense looked really flat. But you know what? Hurts will pick it up. It's Thursday night.
Bad weather. You have to remember the East Coast was a rain mess all weekend.
It was a mess. It was raining. But of course, you start all the studs on Philadelphia, including Gainwell. We're starting Gainwell.
Yeah, and I think you start
and AJ Brown and all the rest of the guys. Yes, you start. Okay, what's the next game?
Green Bay at Atlanta.
Green Bay to me looked really good, and they didn't have their best receiver. I like what I see at Green Bay. I love Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon. I love Love, as you know. I mean, they even used Musgrove, the tight end. They used him a lot too. I don't know if you noticed that he had some targets. Case.
Well, Jaden Reed got hurt, so they had to push him out. They had to add an extra tight end. Vegas. Oh wait, you didn't say Atlanta. I'm sorry. Anybody Casey, in Atlanta?
Who do you like in Atlanta? Of course, you start this. I mean,
you start both running backs. I think
both running backs. Drake London
and Kyle Pitts. I think you use such draft capital to get them. You kind of have to start them unless you got lucky and you end up with Puka Nacua or Jacoby Myers, one of these lower tier wide receivers who's playing out there behind. Vegas at Buffalo. This is your pick of the week for survival.
I think Buffalo's going to destroy them. I would even take Gabe Davis in this game. I think Buffalo's going to score a lot of points. I think they were embarrassed on Monday night. I feel that it's going to be a game where Buffalo's going to want to win their fans back. Josh Allen's going to gain some confidence. The Raiders will give up a lot of points, and I don't think the Raiders will score many points. So I would be hesitant starting some Raiders, but of course you have to start Adams and Jacobs. Of course you start those two.
Okay. Here's a tough game coming off of their first week performance against Cleveland. Cincinnati hosts Baltimore.
It's a bounce back game for Cincinnati. They've been in this position before, like last year when they lost the first game. They'll come back. They'll win the game. Joe Burrow is going to tell you why his name's Joe Cash. They paid him a lot of money. They'll beat Baltimore. Baltimore lost their starting running back, so that's a big downfall for them. And I think Cincinnati is going to win that game by at least a touchdown. But you start all the Cincinnati guys, as I mentioned. I'm not a big fan of Nixon in that game. I don't think they'll rush that many yards, but I think they'll be throwing the ball like crazy.
So you start Boyd instead?
I probably would start Boyd over Mixon, yes. And then Baltimore side, Gus Edwards, they'll try to run him. Justice Law, they'll try to run too. Justice Hill, Lamar Jackson, he'll be running all over the place. And Zay Flowers is my man, so there you go.
Okay. Now, Seattle, coming off of the crushing home defeat by the Los Angeles Rams, travels to Detroit.
That was ugly.
Travels to Detroit.
Detroit 1-0. They beat the world champions last week. How about that, Casey Scheinfeld?
I know. I called it, by the way.
This game, the over-under is like over 50. I mean, that's a lot of points, Casey Scheinfeld.
And quarterback for Detroit. Why am I blanking on his name?
Goff.
Jared Goff is such a better quarterback at home than he is on the road. I could see this being a lot of points.
So a lot of points. Casey even admits it too. A lot of points. So which means a lot of fantasy points. So Goff, Brown, Montgomery. We'll start Montgomery. We'll start the rookie Gibbs.
Yeah.
Do you like Josh Reynolds at all, Casey?
I even like Josh Reynolds in this. I don't like.
Casey likes Josh Reynolds. He had 80 yards and four.
Sam Laporta even had 7 or 8 targets last week.
Sam Laporta, the rookie tight end, we'll take him too. So we're expecting a big amount of points in Detroit. And Seattle looks so bad, Casey. Their defense gave up over 30 points.
Right, but that means it's going to be a shootout.
If they can keep up. If they can keep up, we'll see what happens. Detroit's defense is not bad as everybody thinks. I mean, they improved a lot, but I expect a lot of points. In Seattle, you start Metcalf.
Lockett, Geno
Lockett.
Smith.
Their running game did not do that great last.
But Kenneth Walker. The one thing you learned from this week was Kenneth Walker is still the clear number 1 in that backfield,
and he's coming back to his old college state of Michigan State where he played football at. So maybe he'll have a big game. But okay, what's the next game?
The Los Angeles Chargers at Tennessee.
So Chargers gave up a lot of points. They scored points. I think Tennessee's mediocre is best. I don't think they're that good of a team, defense or offense. Their offensive line's horrible. Henry and Spears are splitting carries. Spears had just as many carries. I
love Tajay Spears this year.
I mean, Tajay Spears I love too. So, and for the Tennessee side, you start Henry, you start Spears, I guess. I hate Tannehill. I hate the whole receiving core. So I wouldn't start anybody else on the receiving side, but that's me. Casey, you can disagree anytime you want.
I like DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to take Nuke every time. So
that's fine. Okay, we got a question.
I'd look at a volume monster. Okay, Untamed Music. He has Jonathan Taylor.
I'm sorry you have Jonathan Taylor,
He's
but
pretty convinced he'll get traded to Miami. Should he trade Raheem for Gabe Davis? I'm assuming he's talking about real quick. I wouldn't count on necessarily that trade happening. I like Gabe Davis. Big things were predicted of him last year, and he kind of had like 3 or 4 good weeks and then 10 or 12 really bad weeks. I don't trust Josh Allen yet.
No, he's Mr. Hollywood. He doesn't care about football anymore. He cares about Haley Steinfeld and jacuzzi.
Look, if you're convinced Raheem Mostert is going to be out of a job in 3 weeks, I wouldn't trade him now. I would wait 2 weeks.
Raheem Mostert's not going anywhere. As long as but he is made out of paper mache, so he may get hurt. So that's what I'm worried about.
He then said, I drafted JT late, so he's okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I hope if you drafted any time after like August 20th, you didn't waste a second or third round pick or first round pick on JT.
JT has to come back. He has $10 million waiting for him at the table. If he doesn't come back and play this season, everything he worked for the past few years with how the NFL works,
he's going to go the way of Le'Veon Bell. Remember when Bell?
Yeah, I mean, he's washing cars now. So there you go. Le'Veon Bell's like boxing. I think he was celebrity boxing matches now. He's out of football completely. So Jonathan Taylor is 24 years old. He has a bright future, and he'll be back. He'll be back. What's the next game, Casey?
We got Chicago at Tampa Bay.
As I mentioned, Chicago's defense is horrible. I mean, it's in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, big upset over Minnesota this week. It was great. I love watching Baker Mayfield. I root for Baker Mayfield. I love the guy. I miss those commercials. I love those insurance commercials. I love them.
Good commercials. Yeah,
I loved them. But all that is over with. But you know what? I love Tampa Bay. I love Mayfield. I love Evans. I'll even take White, the running back, just because Chicago's defense is so bad. And the Chicago side, I guess Fields. I mean, do you take a running back in the Chicago case? I would
take both of them. I would take Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert.
Do you take a receiver in the Chicago Bears? I don't.
I love DJ Moore.
I have no faith in their receiving.
The turtle. Darnell Mooney actually did okay last week.
Yeah, you just said it okay. But Tampa Bay is going to crush the Bears. They'll be shooting that cannon off all game. What's the next game?
The next game after that is Kansas City at Jacksonville.
Kansas City. What's the record, Case? 0-1. And Jacksonville is coming to town, right? I know they've got Chris Jones back. Kansas City. It's a big plus in their defense. So there you go. Of course, you started like Kansas City guys. I probably would not start Sky Moore. I probably would not start Tony. I would bench him. Like you mentioned, I like Rice, that rookie that you mentioned. I like him a lot. Is Kelsey coming back? I will find out tomorrow. The injury reports have not come out yet. Hopefully Kelsey's back for Kansas City. It means a lot. And I also like their running back Pacheco. I think he's great. I think he'll have a big game against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's offensive line is very weak. They looked horrible. They're having a tough time, like pass blocking. But ETM, I would start. I would start Lawrence. I love him. And who did I say is the big dark horse? And he had a touchdown last week that plays for Jacksonville.
Ooh.
He was suspended last year for gambling because he's such an idiot. He downloaded
Calvin Ridley. Yeah, Calvin Ridley was
Calvin Ridley,
wide receivers.
Let me tell you something, Calvin Ridley. The over under of how many touchdowns he's going to have was 5.5. I wish I bet the house on it because he's got 15.
I don't know about 15, but he's going to have a big year.
He'll have over 10. Calvin Ridley to me is going to have a touch almost every week. This guy's a machine, and Lawrence and him would be the best combination for a receiver and quarterback. Top 5 combination this year. You heard it from me first, Ross the Boss. But I love Calvin Ridley. If you can trade for him for some reason, get him, because it's just going to get better. What's next?
After that one, I got to keep going back and forth. We have Indianapolis at Houston.
Who's going to watch that game? I mean, think about it. I mean, what idiot's going to sit in front of the TV and watch the Colts, who maybe won 5 games this year, and Houston, which probably win 5 games? I mean, horrible game. But if I had to start somebody,
Anthony Richardson, I think, could have a
but I mean, is it top 12? Is it top 12? Right. Is it top 12? I mean, you don't start him unless you don't have anybody else. Houston, who do I start?
I think I would start Dameon Pierce.
I mean, Nico Collins had like a bunch of targets. I mean, he was throwing the ball like crazy at that guy. I probably would start Nico Collins for sure. Probably start Pierce. That's it. I'm not starting anybody else in that game. What's the next game?
That is a bad game.
Horrible game. I mean, that game is like, I can't wait to see how many fans are in the stands too for that game. Keep going.
I'm gonna skip. Well, no, okay. San Francisco at Los Angeles Rams.
Okay, the Rams actually they won. I thought they were going to get killed. We all said they're going to get killed. They didn't.
But after
the Rams,
San Francisco defense?
You start all these Ram guys we mentioned at the beginning of the show with the waiver wire picks. I mean,
I would start Nakua. I would start Nakua just because of the volume he's going to get. He could, in a PPR
and the Rams will be the script's going to be the Rams going to be behind, so they'll be throwing the ball. I mean, that's the script. I'm looking at it.
I'm not starting Cam Akers.
Okay, Cam Akers is not the place I want to be.
I'm not starting Matt Stafford because he's a statue back there, and the San Francisco pass rush is
just going to nail that guy.
It's going to be scary. On the San Francisco side, I'm starting everybody.
You love San Francisco, and I they're one of the big winners this weekend to me. San Francisco, Dallas, and I'll say it, Baker Mayfield, another winner this weekend. Those 3 things are the big winners for me this weekend.
Yeah,
but yes, keep going.
Well, here's another one where you're just going to say, "Ooh." The Giants at Arizona.
The Giants are 4.5-point favorites in that game. I don't know if you know that. They're the away favorites and the home dogs. I like Arizona that game. I don't know what somebody tells me Arizona's going to win.
The Giants looked was so bad.
I mean, Arizona, to me, I think it's a home game, and I think I don't think they're as bad as everybody's predicting. They're bad, but I don't know. I just have a feeling the Giants.
James Conner, because I think you can.
Hollywood Brown. You start him. Hollywood Brown.
Offensive line just looked like turnstiles. Like Evan Neal. Chris, I know you're a Bama fan. I'm a Bama guy too, but Evan Neal looked like the worst right tackle in football.
No, he was just being run over. I mean, it was being funny.
What wide receiver made a name for himself at all in that game? I mean, 40-0. You lost 40-0. You gave up 3 defensive or special teams touchdowns. It was
a few leagues. I had the Dallas defense.
Oh my gosh, you won like
37 points.
I was gonna say, like, you didn't need anybody else.
No, the funny thing is, I had one team. I had Dallas D and Burrow as my starting quarterback, and I thought for sure I lost. I was down by like 20-something points going to that game, and Dallas scored all these points, and I won the week. It's unbelievable.
That's an awful game.
But Arizona, maybe Connor. I don't know. I mean, the Giants' defense is pretty good. I'm not saying they're bad. And on the Giants side, Daniel Jones should have a pretty good game. And I think
you start Darren Waller, obviously Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And if you're in a 2-quarterback league, I think you're stuck starting Daniel Jones. In a 1-quarterback league, you probably don't have to.
I think there'll be some scoring in that game. I see it going over. I say
that only because I trust Brian Daboll more than the Giants.
Yeah. Keep going.
Jets at Dallas. Ooh.
So the Jets, they lost their starting quarterback, as we all know. They go to Dallas, home opener in Dallas against the team that destroyed the Giants. Dallas were starting Pollard. Dallas were starting CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott, I'm not a huge fan, but if that's all you got, I guess you got to start him. And then on the other side with the Jets, I mean, you knew who looked great was the running back was not
Brees
Cook,
Hall.
Brees Hall. I mean,
Yeah,
that
he had that 83-yard run.
guy was unbelievable. So all these guys are obvious people to start. I'm worried about Garrett Wilson without having his quarterback behind him. I don't think he's going to have the year that he's supposed to have.
No,
so if you could trade him,
yeah.
I would trade Garrett Wilson. That's something I would do right now if I had him. I don't have him in many leagues.
All right, hey fellas, are you rolling out Drake London in week 2? My other options would be Zay Jones or Elijah Moore. So Cleveland is playing Pittsburgh, and Elijah Moore.
No, Cleveland is playing
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, right?
Monday night. So the problem there is if you wait for that and something happens, you're in trouble.
So Zay Jones was on my list of people you should pick up. I think he did get some targets, but you know what? I would start Drake London, still the number 1 receiver in Atlanta.
Yeah, and it's at home against Green Bay, so there could be a need to throw the ball, hopefully.
Well, there's going to be a lot of scoring. Green Bay, remember, they scored over 30 points in a game in Chicago, so they should score. It should be a high-scoring game. Atlanta's going to score points. I like Drake London. He went to USC, too, so I like the guy.
All right, Washington at Denver.
Washington, I love Brian Robinson, so if I have him as a running back, too. So if you have him, you probably should start him. I'd like him. And then Denver is just I don't trust anybody on Denver. How about that? I would not want to start anybody on Denver. I don't. Russell Wilson to me is horrible, just horrible. There you go. I mean, in Washington, I don't know. I would try to stay away from some of those players. I do think Logan Thomas will have a touchdown, though. I will predict that. How about that? Tight end Logan Thomas. If you need a tight end, pick him up because he'll have a touchdown this weekend.
Okay. Miami at New England.
How good did Miami look? I mean, I know they gave up a lot of points.
How about Tyreek Hill, man? 200+ yards, a couple tutties.
I know. And he even predicted me in the season I'm going to have over 2,000 yards receiving. Well, he could do that.
And Tua, the placement of some of those passes was
great.
I mean, his accuracy is insane.
You know, that's the difference between him and Josh Allen. Tua, another guy, spent the offseason working with his receivers every day. That's all he did.
And working out to get.
And he wasn't in some jacuzzi with some Hollywood floozy. You know what I mean? I mean, this guy, Tua was he's doing like MMA stuff. He's getting.
Josh Allen didn't learn from Aaron Rodgers' relationship with Shailene Woodley or whatever her name is.
No, he thinks he's like Joe Namath. I mean, he's an idiot, this guy. I mean, he's too Hollywood, because he was so like he had to fight for everything he got in college because he wasn't offered any scholarships except one to Wyoming. So this guy just clawed and clawed and clawed, and he made it. But instead of clawing more, he's sitting on top drinking champagne. So there you go. Where were we at, Case?
Miami at New England. So you're running out there, Waddle,
Hill.
You're running out Tua if you got him.
It's in New England too. It's in New England, right? Or is it in? Where's that game at?
It's in New England.
Okay, so the weather is not going to be a huge factor. Hopefully, it'll be kind of warm in New England still. So
yeah, it should be in the 70s, which is perfect football weather.
In New England, Mac Jones, I guess you got to start him against Miami's horrible defense. They gave up over 30 points last week. So
Ramondre Stevenson, you got to run out there.
Yeah.
Do you run Zeke out there?
I don't think he got much. I don't think he did. I don't think he got that many rushes last week. I don't think he did much. So if you don't have to start him, I wouldn't. But he's the guy. If it's first and goal, Zeke's going to be out there. So if you have no choice, it's not a bad person to start.
All right, there's 2 Monday night games.
I actually like when there's 2 Monday night games. I enjoy it because I can sit there for like 6 hours and watch football on a Monday night. I don't have to watch like some stupid show my wife wants to watch. Okay, what is it?
Well, the first one's going to make Chris Atwater a little uncomfortable. You got his New Orleans Saints going against his boy Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh,
at Carolina.
I mean, can you match up like? Okay, so on Carolina, I guess you start Casey. Who do we start on Carolina against the Saints defense? Who was pretty good.
I think. Wow.
Miles Sanders, I
I
guess,
guess you
right?
got to start the running back Miles Sanders, and that might be it.
I mean, I'm afraid of Young. I'm just afraid. I would try
Yeah,
to
I
stay
mean,
away
he's not
from the
ready
game.
yet.
As much as I love starting players on Monday night.
I like Adam Thielen. I don't know how he's going to
How
do
about
this.
how about my new receiver, Rashid?
Rashid Shaheed. Rashim Shaheed was one of our sleepers in the offseason, so don't say new.
I
We
guess
we
we'll
talked
start
about it.
him, and we'll start
Yeah,
Chris
well, you're going to
Olave.
start. Was Olave hurt, or did he come back?
He came back. He came back. I
Okay.
thought he was hurt. I
Do you
was worried.
start Michael Thomas? Do you start? I think you
No,
start Jamal Williams,
I guess he didn't have the greatest
Derek
game.
Carr. Do you run him out there?
If
Only
it's
in
a
a two-quarterback league.
if it's a
All right,
quarterback league, yes.
we got a question. Ricky AA, how you doing, Ricky? We want to know: do you start Josh Reynolds or Romeo Dobbs? Green Bay or Detroit? I'm going with Dobbs because it looks like his chemistry with Jordan Love is pretty darn strong, getting those 2 touchdowns. And he looked like he was the guy who Love was looking for whenever a play was extended. Whereas Josh Reynolds is the second option in that case behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like there's a clear alpha in Detroit. So I'd probably go Dobbs against Atlanta before I would go
I would go
Reynolds.
Yeah, Reynolds only had 4 targets. I mean, he gets the ball, but they're big catches. But
Yeah, I'm going Dobbs.
Dobbs gets more volume, so Dobbs, it's easy.
All right, last game of the week, and then we're out of here. Cleveland at Pittsburgh.
Ooh, Cleveland has 2 games in a row that's against division rivals, and so does Cincinnati.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, Cincinnati. Yeah,
yeah, they 2 in a row. That's pretty good. So these 2 teams hate each other. They really do. I'm not a big fan of Watson. It's in Pittsburgh. I don't see Pittsburgh losing 2 games in a row at home. I really don't. I think Pittsburgh's going to tighten it up.
So you take Pickens with Deontay Johnson hurt?
I take Pickens. I take Freiermuth, who's questionable. So keep an eye on that. He did have a touchdown, and he was one of my.
Give everybody picks on a Tuesday. Because
I'm just saying. I said I like Freiermuth. Beginning of the season, I said he's to me he's going to be a top 5 tight end. I said it, and he had a touchdown last week. As long as the tight end gets a touchdown, I'm fine. I don't care about the yards. I just care about if it gets a touchdown, I'm clear. I mean that's like having a 100-yard game, so it's perfect. But I do like Pittsburgh with the running backs. I mean. If you have to start Najee, I would rather start Warren. Actually, start Warren over Najee. That's my opinion. Najee's done. He can't run. He can't excel. It's over. Let's not pretend. And in Cleveland, of course, Chubb, Watson. I would try not to start unless you really have to. And the receiving core, as you know, I'm not a big fan of. It's going to be the Chubb show. Chubb's going to have over 100 yards and a touchdown.
Is Watson back week 2? I'm Christian Watson. I assume you're asking since it's following the Romeo Dobbs. I don't know yet. It's too early to tell. It's Tuesday.
Well, no, Wednesday. Just everybody knows Wednesday is when the injury report comes out.
Yeah, I don't think Watson does to Dobbs what Amon-Ra does to Josh Reynolds. So I think even if he's back, I would still prefer Dobbs. But that's just me. Obviously, I would rank Dobbs probably a good 10 spots higher than Reynolds going into my weekly rankings if I had to. But I'll know more we're here again Thursday, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. If there's any new news by then, we'll update whatever.
Okay, Case, before we go, and I'll pick one too. Tell me your top scoring fantasy player for week 2. Go.
I'm going to go with Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb going against Pittsburgh. That's a good pick. I'll take Jamar Chase of Cincinnati. I think he's going to have 2 or 3 touchdowns against Baltimore.
All right, there you go.
Yep, I think he's going to be a huge game. Over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I wanted to say Saquon Barkley, but I just don't want to jinx my Giants. So.
Oh, he's going to be big. Oh, against Arizona. It's a good one. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I'm Ross the Boss. We'll see everybody back here Thursday. We'll have Dr. Dan Ratner on. We'll give you more insight on week 2, and we'll talk more strategy in fantasy football, which I'm excited about. I'm Ross the Boss. That's Casey Vlatchenbo and Scheinfeld, and we'll see you Thursday.